Hello and welcome to the Empower Couples podcast, where here you get modern, non-boring relationship advice for you and your partner to communicate like pros, fight smarter, and stay on the same team no matter the challenge that you face. I am one of your hosts, Aaron Freeman.
And I'm Jocelyn Freeman, but you all just know us as the Freemans.
And this is a special episode, which we might say just about every time, but actually is special as yesterday was our anniversary, and we posted about it, right? And we got a lot of comments on how we renew our vows.
Exactly.
In a sense, right? So this is the marriage vow renewal exercise that we do actually just about every year.
Every year. And in a way, we kind of audit these throughout the year, because just like creating New Year's resolutions isn't enough to review your life and create goals, right? We believe this is why we do this, that just creating promises on your wedding day and then never coming back to it is not enough. I mean, think about it. Some of you got married 10 years ago, 20 years ago and beyond. But even if you just got married last year, do you actually remember what you promised? Like, have you thought about it? And I know some people choose to do like the traditional, I promise to love, honor, and cherish you.
Sickness and health. Right.
And then others, create their own, like we wrote our own vows. But you have to ask yourself, like, have you actually checked in? What did I promise my partner? And have I been keeping those?
Yeah, a key question. That second one for sure. And I think sometimes with the marriage vows, it's conceptual, it's kind of vague, right? And nothing wrong with it. If you went with like traditional vows, it's just not very specific. And when you've been listening, you really need like specific agreements and promises, especially when emotion is high. So that's why we talk about 4 agreements, 4 times of conflict, because when your body's being taken over from those emotions, when you get triggered, you're not going to remember vague concepts like,
I promise to love them.
Know what? Yes, I need to love, honor, and cherish them right now. So that's not going to happen. So in one sense, whatever the promises and vows were that you made, yeah, it sounded nice, but they're not as practical if they're not specific. And that's a key thing, we think. But also, as you were about to go into, you are different people. For us, it was 7 years yesterday. And I said to you, what's interesting about that is in science, every 7 years, your body is actually made up of completely different cells. Every cell in your body, and which changes some of your nervous system. It changes taste buds. Like literally your physical body is actually completely different every 7 years. People's allergies change. And I said, well, this body itself is completely different. On top of if we acknowledge my personality, my belief systems, a certain confidence, my personality, things about myself are different and are different about you. We now have a baby, that's different. So promises need to be updated to be more accurate to the people you are now, which are different, but also the future that you're wanting to create.
I love that. I think that's so true. And I mean, we are different. I get those Facebook time hops and I'm like, oh my gosh, we look different. We act different. What we do with our time is different. And so you're completely right. And I want to speak to another aspect of this that's important is it really is, I know this is going to sound bold, but it's a matter of your integrity. We have to do these audits and these check-ins and these reviews of ourselves and yes, the marriage. Have I been showing up in the way that I promised my partner? And if not, being able to be humble enough and look in the mirror and say, wow, I lost touch with that. I promised that I would be by their side through any challenge. But actually, I've been backing down. I've not been, fighting for our relationship. I've been passive.
I've been letting them do all the things for the baby and not helping out as much with naps and feeding. And I've taken a back seat and I just focus on my work and I come home and my energy is different. I'm not completely attentive or present. It's like, you really got to look at these things.
Exactly. So looking in the mirror and being able to be honest is really powerful. That makes you a powerful person if you are willing and able to do that. Now, it's not easy. Sometimes we have to go, gulp, like I got to step it up here. So that's why we love this exercise. And we're going to give you some specific prompts and the ways that we thought about this because we each did this differently. That was kind of cool.
And we've done it differently over the years.
Exactly.
This was a little bit different for me in the way I approached it than last year.
Exactly. But again, just the key things. This is important because you're different people. It's a different season, kind of new areas of focus. And also it's an integrity check. And your marriage is only as good as what you're committed to and what you promise and keeping your promises.
Wow.
And if you let yourself slip, you have actually a kind of degraded view of yourself even. You can kind of be like, wow, I am not being the person that I want to be. And so this is a way for you to actually step into your greatness even more for your partner, and your partner deserves that. And your marriage will thrive to the degree that you make and keep those promises.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Okay.
Bold and true.
Yeah. So I think let's dive in, and we'll maybe have more, inspiring remarks throughout. But I loved, Aaron, the way that you did this. We didn't give each other like a prompt or like, hey, do it exactly the same way. And so it was really cool to see what you wrote and how you went about thinking it. So you want to?
Sure. Well, when I said last year, I think it's actually 2 years ago, we went to Sedona. Actually, it was probably for our 5-year. We went to Sedona. We went to our favorite trail hike, which is the West Fork Trail in Sedona, and a little bit more traditional, which I think you could talk about, but I did review the promises I made to you on our actual wedding, now 7 years ago, which was 5 at that time. And then I wrote out more of what I am promising for this season. Now, yesterday I approached it differently. We had cacao and did our morning meditation, but I meditated on 2 things, really what love is, and more so how I was embodying love, right? This is a debate people have. Is love a verb? Blah, blah, blah. What is it? So love, to me, first of all, it's very basically, it's an attitude. You, and for personal development, it's your way of being, right? You have to take on your being of being love. And if that's not as familiar to you, it's an attitude. You wake up and I generate an attitude of being loving.
Yeah, you can't just say, I love you, but then you're a total crankster and short and...
Well, and if we were to be straight about that, your actions are perfectly correlated to your way of being. So if you're like, oh, I love you, and then you're short with them and you have harsh startups and you criticize them, no, you're not. You're just talking now, right? It's just a lot of wordplay. It doesn't mean anything.
Wow.
Yeah, right.
We're being straight here.
So yeah, when we're being real, I mean, this is the only way you make a difference and create the marriage that you want, which is something we're deep into right now. So your actions are always correlated to the way that you're being, your attitude, how you're showing up. So I did promise you that I'm going to be even more intent on waking up, and whether it's through gratitude statements or thinking about what I appreciate about you, I'm going to be love more. So with that, what I then ended up doing was I was on YouTube and I was trying to find like meditations and affirmations about love, which I did find some videos. And that gave me a different frame of the actions. So why I say that is because I'm not just going to promise you I'm going to take these actions and then my way of being is still that, oh, you dominate me or you control me or you criticize me, right? Then the actions and my being are not going to be aligned. You're going to feel incongruence. So first of all, the being, but then what I actually promised you was, well, from that being, I promise to have my actions show you that love through these specific ways.
Yeah.
So a few of them was to care more about fulfilling your needs.
Yeah, that was awesome. I love that one.
Now I just want to point this out. If I wake up in the morning and I'm like defensive about something that happened or we're not repaired from the day before, it's like, am I going to care about fulfilling your needs? No, I'm going to just go about my day trying to fulfill my own needs. So you can see how the being has to be a match. So care about fulfilling your needs.
He's reading from his notebook, by the way.
Yeah, these are actually what I wrote down and we share with each other during the cacao meditation. Listen to and remember details. That one stood out to me because it shows the care. If you're sharing with me things that are important or things you want me to remember or stories, and then I'm just not even paying attention or those are going by and I'm not remembering it, it's like that doesn't really express or show love.
That's true.
This is a big one actually for me. Take advice. So we had a deeper conversation about this. Maybe you can talk more about how we had a deeper conversation, but I'm not typically as open to taking advice. So we talk about how it needs to be permission based. But what I realized through listening to some things, the respect and trust has to be there. And a lot of times for men, the respect and trust needs to be shown in our direction. And then when that's happening, we're more natural to seek advice. But if we're not feeling respected, or that our decision making and our intuition is being trusted, or that you trust me in that sense and I feel that respect, number one, not likely to ask for your advice. Number two, when you give it, maybe unsolicited, I'm like not going to want to hear it. So that had some layers. Attracted to you in pajamas.
Aw.
That was an interesting one I heard on the video I was listening to, because it's true. You get to a comfortability in marriage and in your relationship, and you're not going to always be dolled up, and you're not always going to be makeup and dressed the best or even smelling the best.
I don't smell.
That was for me. Like, I'm not like, squirting the cologne every single day. But it was a great point to say that you're just sort of attracted to that person. Obviously, we could talk more about I can be attracted to your way of being and your character, not just your physical. But I realize I am. I'm attracted to you in whatever you wear. And so, again, that was a part of my promises. I'll go a little bit faster to the list here so you can get to yours. Protect and defend. That was an interesting one. More on that maybe another time. Have compassion and kindness. Be a supporter and encourager of your ideas, your dreams, the things that you bring up. Don't just say, oh, that's not a good idea, or I don't want to do that for us. Ease the burden of tasks and responsibilities that you have. Bring joy and happiness and play. Be accepting of the ideas and emotions that you have. That was even kind of added for me, right? Like, accept not only the ideas, which goes back to the previous one I mentioned, but really accepting of the emotions that you're having, the experience that you're having, whether it's with Sky or being a mom or something that I did and you feel that I was defensive or whatever it might be. Be more accepting of your emotions. Allow for freedom, for you to feel free to explore your desires, not be constrained, not be limited in this marriage, but that you're actually more free by being in this marriage with me. Be present and attentive, and then take responsibility and initiate repair quickly. So these were all things I noticed. If I'm not first being love, I'm not going to do any of these things. So I needed to sort of promise that, and then my promises and my vows to you are from being love, that I would express that love in these manners to you.
I love that. And every single one resonated in a different way. And we talked about them a bit more. And it was great because I really felt your heart in what you wrote. It wasn't just like, I will treat you better, right?
Let's move on for the day.
It really felt intentional, and it really felt like you did reflect on it. And yeah, I think all of those to me sum up with that you put in the effort to show I matter, to show that I am cared for. So I love them. So before I go about
how am
mine,
I doing on day one?
Day one, you're doing fantastic. I feel it. I feel a shift. And the good news is that you and I, review our life and talk about our relationship often. And so this isn't just going to be a once a year conversation anyway. But I'll share my process because mine was a bit different. But before that, I forgot to mention this earlier, and we haven't asked for this in a while. So what would mean a lot to us, if you take away value from this episode or any others, would you take 3 seconds, literally 3 seconds of your time to write a review for our podcast? Or all you have to do is just hit 5 stars, whether you listen on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. That makes a big difference for us and the effort and the time that we put into this. So if you can just take 3 seconds to do that on whatever app you're listening to, that would mean an absolute ton.
And if you're listening to this and you feel as if, I'm not sure how well this conversation would go, I do just want to say, because it's in 2 days from now, we have our marriage web class on the battle for fairness. And a lot of times, recreating your promises, you're going to get into this feeling of what's fair, what's balanced. Because if you haven't been feeling as if it's been equal, you might be less inclined to make these types of promises. So I do want to just offer that up. So just in 2 days, I think from the time that you'll hear this, go to onlinecouplesworkshops.com. Register for this free web class. This is going to make a huge difference in you being able to have conversations like this, to recreate your promises, restore your integrity, create your future, and join us on that. It's going to be powerful. If it's past that date, by the way, I wanted to offer this. We'll do a few breakthrough sessions this month, and whatever it is around fairness for you, this sort of battle, this back and forth of maybe you feel you do more than your partner or something you feel like you haven't talked about, have a breakthrough. We promise you in 1 hour, you will move past something you've been stuck on.
Yeah, and when he says breakthrough session, that's our private 2-on-2 session with you and your partner. And we don't just spend an hour like chit-chatting and getting to know your story. We get to the heart of it. We get right into a thing that you are dealing with, a challenge, and we go right into a tool that couples end it going, wow, this simplified what felt really complex in our life and our relationship. So you can go to meetthefreemans.com/coaching to grab a spot. We only open a few every month. And so make sure you go and take advantage of doing a session with us.
So let's get back to hearing your process.
Yeah, so my process was different. So I actually, on my piece of paper, I kind of sat with it because I was like, I don't just want to list kind of just a bunch of promises. I was like, okay, what really feels authentic to me? And so I created 3 different prompts for myself. The first prompt was just my promises to you now. And I didn't want to create too many. So I actually only created 2, but I'll read those in a moment. So my promises to you. Then I wrote traits I want to embody. And I think that's really key because like you said, love being an attitude. It's like, okay, what are the traits that would demonstrate me being a great partner for you in this season now? Kind of what do we need? What do you need right now? So how can I embody those traits? What are those? And then I liked this part. Dreams I have for our partnership this year. And so those are kind of fun, and I'll read those. All right, let me start with the traits I want to embody now. And I really sat with this, and I wrote grace, possibility, and fun. So grace, I feel like, especially as an assertive woman, I know a lot of you listening are assertive as well. We can be very expressed. I really am always keeping my eye on having grace. Can my delivery of how I communicate with you be still full of love and grace and forgiveness and compassion? So grace being a key one. Possibility. The world is getting heavier. People are more stressed, more overwhelmed. And so I want to be a person of possibility, meaning I want us to wake up and my attitude to be like, okay, how can we create today to be the best? And sure, we've got these circumstances and these challenges and this and that, but I want to live a life of anything is possible. So that was one. And then fun, because I can take things seriously. I can be just too adulting. And so just being fun and having Sky, our baby, has actually really helped me tap more into our play. Right before she went down for a nap, we're on the ground playing with her and being fun. And so I hope you have experienced more of my fun.
I have, yeah. I mean, you're crawling around on the ground and you're like hiding from her. Even your nurturing side, which I mentioned this on a previous podcast, though, like the personality types, you've always been a red in action. And it was clear to everyone around you. And when we were doing this with friends a few years ago, you're like, oh, I'm nurture. And we all look at each other like, what are you talking about?
But I have been now. I've been more so now.
That's what point I'm getting to. The yellow, the nurture side, honestly has taken the front seat over the action, the directive, just the go-getter, the action to get things done.
Oh, thank you. So those are the traits I want to embody for you. Grace, possibility, and fun. How am I doing day 1? Is the attitude good?
Yeah, I've been really great.
Okay, good. So then my promises to you now, and I really did I was like, I don't want to just write a bunch of stuff. So 2 kind of key ones. To speak more outwardly about your greatness and what I appreciate about you. And I think that is really key for a lot of couples lately is, you can either choose to focus on the things that bother you about your partner, or you can focus on their greatness. But I want to speak more outwardly about that and build you up, like have my language actually build you up in your self-esteem, and then also speaking more outwardly what I appreciate about you. So that being a big promise. And then second was to curate more moments of joy for us all. And I really focused on that because, yeah, I think, again, life can become about responsibilities, to-dos, and all those things. But I want us to really focus on memories and joy. And I want to be a partner and create a world and a life and a home and a dynamic that sparks joy in you. And so I want to curate more of those moments. No, my promise is to do that, not I want to. Okay, then my last category, dreams I have for our partnership this year. So the dream is seeing new places and feeling childlike wonder. So, because I know for you, like you are a happier person when we are exploring and your childlike self gets to come out and you don't have to be kind of just adulting all the time. So that being a dream, a creation of home that is a launching pad for our greatness, and we are, exploring our shift and where we want to be and, a new home and things like that. So, but that being a launching pad for our greatness, and then meaningful gatherings with great souls to have laughter and connection. And then feeling like we can create anything we want, because we're exploring investment opportunities and just the life that we want to ongoingly be creating together. So those are the dreams I have for our partnership. The 3 categories again: traits I want to embody for you, my promises to you now, and dreams I have for our partnership this year.
Yeah, love it. I mean, it was really meaningful. I liked, for us, how we came at it slightly different than we had in the past few years. But if you're listening, whichever path you take, if you haven't really been looking at what are our promises that we have made to each other, have I been keeping up to that? Am I in integrity with that? Does my partner know and feel as if I've been keeping to that standard that I really set for myself for this marriage? And then really looking at, well, regardless of that, for the new season, for what we do want to create moving forward, are those promises a match to that? Do they need to be revised so that we can step into the people either we are now or we want to become to create the future that we desire?
So while we did this on our wedding anniversary, and for some of you that might be coming up here soon and you can do that, but also maybe you can do this anytime. And actually, if you're coming out of a challenging season, this might be something you need to do like right now. And so use this practice whenever. Honestly, it's an opportunity to sit down and regroup and review and recreate these promises. It's very bonding, very healing. So we can't wait to hear from some of you how this went. We hope that this really resonated. And again, just a couple opportunities for support. If you're listening to this episode the week that it comes out, then go register for our free marriage web class at onlinecouplesworkshops.com. If you're listening to this after the fact and we aren't having that live web class, schedule a breakthrough session with us. In that 1 hour, you will feel movement towards the positive. You will feel more clarity and you're overcoming a challenge. And that's at meetthefreemans.com/coaching. And we just love you all. Thank you for listening. Thank you for writing a review for us. We do this for you. So with that, we will talk to you on the next episode.